Oi, oi, all right. How's it going? I'm Grant, your you. This is the Doodle Review coming through with a new album to give a spin, chat some fraff about, and then assign, a pointless score to. Today it's the turn of Primal Scream and their latest Come Ahead. The Scream are a weird band. When you look back at their now 40 plus career, it's gone everywhere from indie pop, dream pop, garage rock, psychedelia, acid house, trip hop, post punk, a mix of all of that, and then kind of back around running the gamut of all of those genres all over again. Screamadelica was the record that broke the band mainstream, an unlikely but iconic moment in time where the band fell into the orbit of Andrew Weatherall and the Balearic house movement of the late 80s and 90s. The album documents in real time what it sounds like when you introduce a ragged rock and roll band, the spiritual successors to the Stones in their exile era, when you introduce them to DJ culture and an endless supply of ecstasy. The crayon drawn cover art of this album has become totemic for a certain generation of acid house and rave fans. It represents something almost completely distinct from Primal Scream themselves, and it's one of those weird instances where the album in some respects is kind of bigger than the band. It feels like it's outside of them. And it's worked out all right for Bobby Gillespie and crew because every 3 years they can go out and honor Screamadelica for some sort of anniversary and draw huge crowds, 80% of whom probably couldn't tell you a single thing the band did after. But ultimately, it's those Screamadelica worshippers that have funded, in my mind, some of the coolest, most challenging, and subversive alternative music we've ever heard. Vanishing Point, Exterminator, and Evil Heat. Those records, man. It's a run from 1997 to 2002 that saw Gillespie and co. dive into another era of collaboration that birthed Screamadelica, except this time the drugs of choice were speed and bad acid, almost mirroring how the 60s flower power counterculture was subsumed by the darkness of the 70s. The band's output over the turn of the millennium was a twisted blend of rock, electronic, and almost industrial aggression. It's my favorite stuff from them, producing some of my favorite albums. I keep waiting for Exterminator to have its moment in the sun like the Stooges did 30 years after their demise, but at the moment I think it's still maybe ahead of its time. Since that period, the band have gone through some kind of ups and downs, both musically and otherwise, returning to some more palatable but bland rock music in the mid noughties, while band members like Martin Duffy and Robert Throb Young passed away. 2013's More Light, however, was a massive return to form, a dip back into psychedelia that poured Eastern and Latin styles into its melting pot to take fans on another wild ride. And while at the time I remember being a little disappointed by 2016's Chaos Moses, a re-listen when reapproaching this review made me reappraise. It's nowhere near as expansive as More Light, but is actually, I've decided, an underrated banger filled with alternative dream pop electronica fusions that offer a more accessible angle than its predecessor, and it really works. That leads us to now, 8 years later and 42 years since Gillespie set this rock and roll circus in motion, and Come Ahead is yet another genre shift. I initially wrote bold genre shift, but at this point bold isn't really appropriate when your fans kind of know just what to expect at this point. While fans know what to expect, though, it seems like Gillespie didn't. According to the singer, what eventually became this album actually came out of intimate, personal, solo written acoustic pieces that formed over kind of lockdown that initially didn't present themselves as material for the next bold, alternative Primal Scream album. It was in reteaming with producer David Holmes that a direction came to light. Now, Holmes is primarily an electronic musician and successful DJ, but over the last 20 years or so, more and more rock and indie artists like Manic Street Preachers, Noel Gallagher, for example, have brought him in to help broaden the landscape of what they can achieve in their band format. Scream were probably one of the first to do this, though, with Holmes jumping on some production duties with 2000's Exterminator and then returned fully behind the desk for More Light in 2013. And as mentioned, both of those are, for my money, two of this band's best. So before even hearing this album, I was quite excited. And getting into it, I think I was right to be. By stripping Gillespie's acoustic demos and pouring influences of disco and funk into the sonic cake mix, Primal Scream have returned from their slumber with a record that is as good as, if not better, than Chaos Moses, blending Gillespie's poetry of personal introspection and social consciousness with this rolling wah and string soul and funk disco aesthetic. The album conjures kind of a self-aware political activist spirit akin to 70s artists like Otis Redding or Curtis Mayfield, but from a very Scottish, very 21st century perspective. And it's a great combination. Love Insurrection is a great example of that kind of Curtis Mayfield-esque mid-tempo street level swagger. It's got a rolling drum groove that's propelled by additional bongos, a bass line with a real wooden tonal character carved into its low-end pocket, some killer overblown pan pipes, and of course, cinematic strings. Innocent Money takes those strings even further with a majestic but delicate arcing melody that over the top of a classic uptempo beat is just classic disco. It provides the perfect juxtaposition to the lyrical themes of capitalist corruption. Melancholy Man is the first of a few slower pieces, and here the downshift in tempo is really well earned and well placed, with Andrew In's guitar guiding us over the emotive piano loop like a boat over a lake. The vocals are a little drawn out, but it works, and in its closing moments, the track really crescendos and makes for a great mid-album climax. The other slower pieces, however, are where the album slightly loses me. I really like the electronic ambient textures of False Flags, and it's a great backdrop to Gillespie's narrative of a soldier looking back on his life, but at 8 minutes it outlasts its catharsis and drags slightly. The closer, Settlers Blues, is similarly powerful on the lyrical side, but its traditional old-timey folk song melody is a tough sit, and I promise that's not just colonial guilt as a Brit talking. The lyrics are great. It's just a depressing, plodding end to an otherwise fun but still meaningful album that came before it. That being said, my lasting impressions of the album are most definitely the high points. Love Ain't Enough, it has a bluesy aggression that reminds us there's a punk fire in the band that's still there under the surface, and Deep Dark Waters has a classic melody that glides over a progressively more intense track underneath. Overall, despite the few moments where the album almost grinds to a halt, this record's melting pot of influences once again proves just how versatile Primal Scream are, taking their catalogue down another stylistic left turn without us ever losing sight of who they really are. I'm going to give this a 7.5 and knock it on the head. That's just what I think, though. What are you lot saying? Let me know in the comments, and check the description below for some other reviews of artists you might like. If you can be asked to do all of that, you may as well subscribe, stick around, share some thoughts, show some love, or just hurl some abuse in the comments. And I'll see you in the next video. Right then, mate. Take care. Mine, there you go. Cheers. Bye.